The first game in the Tomb Raider survival trilogy, Tomb Raider 2013, follows a young and very inexperienced Laura as she goes on her first expedition. This game serves as a new era for Tomb Raider. For the first time in the series, Laura looks way different compared to the way she looks in all the other games. This game goes for a more realistic art style for the graphics, with it having more realistic character models, along with it having really good cutscenes. This game is the first game where Laura plays vastly different than the other games. When I first played this game, I thought it was a really great game and I enjoyed it a lot, and I liked some of the changes it made, especially for Tomb Raider, because like this kind of reminds you more of like an Uncharted type of style and like other like PS3 games. That's kind of how this one plays, and that's what it reminded me, especially like when you go from Underworld to this game, you do see the differences, and it's really nice just replaying this game because I can appreciate it more, especially seeing this was the first game that was in the survival trilogy. And I really like the vibes that are in this game, especially like having a young Laura who's very inexperienced, and you can tell in this game that she's very inexperienced. But with all that out the way, let's finally talk about Tomb Raider 2013, because this is a really great game. Now, the story of this game is really interesting because the story follows Laura as she's going on her first adventure, but it goes terribly wrong when the ship sails into the wrong area and the ship starts to sink, and she gets put on a deserted island full of crazy people and an ancient civilization. But while she's on that island, she has to meet up with all her companions, and she runs into trouble with all the different stranded men that are on this island that are trying to kill all the outsiders, along with her discovering the mystery of this island and why exactly nobody can leave this island, and why lightning always strikes any individual that's trying to leave this island either on a boat or any type of like aircraft. Now, when it comes to Laura in this game, she goes on a very interesting journey because you can tell like she's kind of inexperienced and not used to all this, especially with this being like her first time going on an expedition. You can tell that this is her first time because there's multiple times in this game that she's either falling down or she's getting struck with something, and you can tell that she doesn't have that experience of like dealing with things like that, especially when it comes to her going against those men, because you see there's multiple times that she either gets caught or she gets knocked out, where like a more experienced Laura in some of the other games, you know, she most definitely would have not got caught like this. And in this one, she gets caught a lot, and there's a lot of situations she doesn't really know how to deal with, and we see there's also like death that she has to deal with when it comes to like some of her companions. There's especially like one death that like if she was more experienced, it more likely would have not happened, but it was because like she wasn't paying attention, and that's technically one of the reasons why Rolf dies, because he ends up sacrificing himself to save Laura. There's just a lot of situations you can see that she has to deal with because she's not used to any of this. But from the start to the end of the game, you do see that she does get that experience, and it's like by the end of the game you see that she's used to all this, but at the same time she is tired, especially like even us playing, we're tired, especially when it comes to all the men that are on this island that are so goddamn annoying when you have to fight them. But I really do like her character growth in this, because at first we just see her as this young college girl, but then as she goes on this island, she becomes like more and more grittier as she has to learn how to survive on this island, as she tries to get off this island with her companions, and we just see by the very end of it she gets all that experience that she needed. Now, when it comes to the playstyle in this game, most of it is kind of similar to some of the other Tomb Raiders game, but there's a lot that is different. The one thing that is similar is like when it comes to the climbing is about the same, besides just like the climbing axe, because the climbing axe is something new for this series compared to like all the other games. So we have a climbing axe, but the climbing for the most part is literally the same. Like if you played Tomb Raider Underworld, you'll see that the climbing is exactly the same, but besides just like the pickaxe, because the pickaxe is something new, and that's like one of the things that's different. Now, when it comes to the shooting is different because there's no lock on. It's more you just aiming at it, where you know in the other games it was usually like lock on. So like that's one of the things that stands out as being different. And then like one of the things that is an interesting change is just like the dodge is vastly different, because now you're rolling on the ground, where you know in the other Tomb Raiders you usually can do like all the jumping around and all that. We don't have none of that jumping around in this game at all, so you don't get one of the things that was kind of staple for like Tomb Raider, which was like the crazy jump that you can do to like dodge and then shoot enemies. We have none of that in this game, which is kind of surprising, but at the same time this trilogy kind of goes for a more realistic-ish type of approach when it comes to lore compared to like some of the other Tomb Raider games. So like I guess all the jumping around they didn't want to hear, and the dodge is just like really a roll. And one of the interesting things about this game is that instead of having dual wielding pistols, you have the bow and arrow, because when it comes to this lore in the survival trilogy, her weapon is the bow and arrow, and the bow and arrow gets used for a lot of things besides of course like killing enemies, while also shooting ropes to other areas. That way you can connect the two areas and you can travel across it. So it's one of the more useful items in the game that you're going to have to use from the start, and plus it's the first thing that you get in the game, and you learn how to use the bow and arrow like really early on. So then of course like with Laura being stuck on like one island, there's a lot of different places that she gets to travel to. Of course you're going to have multiple forest areas, and of course you're going to have like multiple mountain areas that she's going to go to, along with temples and along with the base when it comes to the enemies in this game, because they have their own base. And like you also get to go to the beach, and you also get to go on the ship that Laura came in, but like it's very destroyed, and you're also going to have like a really sad moment that happens there. But for the most part, when it comes to all the different areas in this game, there's a lot of really cool areas, especially when it comes to like the whole ancient civilizations temple. Their temple was pretty cool. So when it comes to the enemies in this game, you do have a variety when it comes to all the different enemy types. One of the first enemies that you encounter in this game are the wolves, and just know Laura got beef with the wolves because it's on site fight when she sees the wolves. So like the wolves are the first enemies you fight. When it comes to the stranded men on this island, there's a lot of different variety when it comes to them, because you have people that have bow and arrows, and like when it comes to the bow and arrows, they either have like the regular arrows or they have the flame arrows. You have individuals that come like with weapons, and I'm pretty sure they have like 2 machetes or something like that. You also have people that have shotguns. You have people that have armor. You also have people that carry a shield and like they come after you to come and attack you. You also have like big ass enemies, and usually those ones are kind of like boss fights. But like when it comes to them, there's like a big variety. And then also we have the Oni, which are like the ancient civilization. And when it comes to them, there's only really 3 types. You have people that have bow and arrows, and then you have like people that run up like with swords. Finally, you have like the one big ass Oni, and like he's a boss, so like you only fight him like 1 time. So like theirs is not really that much variety compared like to the stranded men on the island. But for the most part, the enemies aren't that bad. But the thing that sucks about them is that they are bullet sponges. If you're not shooting them in the head, they are basically going to take up so much bullets, and it's ridiculous because you can hit them with explosive arrows or even the grenades, and they're still going to eat that up, which is insane. So you have to get headshots with them, or the enemies can be very annoying in this game. And trust me, they can take you out so goddamn fast, but sometimes them enemies will eat up so many goddamn bullets, and that's what makes it so goddamn annoying when it comes to the enemies. And sometimes it was pissing me off because at times it would seem like they would take so long to kill them, and it would be so goddamn annoying because I'm like, how are you not dead? But then you shoot them in the head and bam, they're dead. And like that's the fastest way you can kill enemies in this game, is just with getting headshots. So this combat in this game is not nothing really crazy remarkable, but you have a lot of different ways you can play this game. There are stealth kills that you can get in this game. You can go guns blazing, and most of the time you can take enemies out. But like I said, as long as you shoot them in the head or you hit them with a shotgun, for the most part you can take enemies out that way. And also when you dodge people, you can also activate another thing where like you can essentially just stab them with an arrow, and that counts as just damaging them. And then also you have finishers, because after a while like shooting an enemy, sometimes you can finish them, and either you can do that with your pickaxe, you can finish them with a pistol, you can finish them with a shotgun, or you can finish them with the machine gun. All those are like things you unlock through the skill tree, but like the finishers are actually really fun to do because it adds some different variety to the combat, not to make it like very boring. But as you go throughout the game and you get new weapons and you upgrade them, it keeps the combat actually fun and interesting. Now when it comes to the weapons that you get in this game, you get the climbing axe, you get the bow and arrow, you get the pistol, you get the shotgun, you get the machine gun, but there are no dual wielding pistols. I'm pretty sure you also get a rifle too, but I'm pretty sure that's like also part of the machine gun. One of the things I kind of do like about this game is like whenever you get a new weapon, they always want you to use that weapon in the area because that's the majority of the ammo you'll find in that area. So like when you first get the pistol, they want you to use the pistol. When you first get the shotgun, there's a whole area where they want you to use the shotgun. When it comes to the machine gun, there are 2 different sections they really want you to use the machine gun in. And like when you first get it, and also when you get an attachment to shoot the grenades, they literally want you to use both of those weapons in them areas. And that's one of the things I kind of like about this game is like when you get these weapons, they want you to use these weapons. Because you know there's some games where you might just get a new weapon and sometimes it's just in a random area and you don't get to use it. Where in this game, they make sure you get a weapon in the area that you most definitely need to use it. And that's one of the things I like about it. But when it comes to my favorite weapon in this game, it is hands down the pistol. Especially when you upgrade the pistol to get the silencer, it's one of the most brokenest weapons in the game. And that's why I really enjoy using the pistol, especially because this game you have to get headshots because the enemies eat up so many goddamn bullets. And that's like one of the letdowns of this game, because it's like, why does it take so goddamn long to kill these enemies? But the pistol is one of my favorite weapons. Also, I like the bow and arrow because the bow and arrow you can upgrade to add so many different things. You can add flame arrows, of course, and you also can add explosive arrows, and I'm pretty sure it's like a stun grenade arrow too. So like that's one of the cool things about that. And like when it comes to the shotgun, one of the upgrades for the shotgun is like where you can kind of like shoot fire at enemies, and like that's pretty cool. And then of course like when it comes to like the machine gun, like of course you get like the grenades and all that, and that's pretty cool too. And also that one can get a silencer put on it too. And like when it comes to upgrading the guns, the way you do it in this game is like you find these crates that are all across the island along with like these big silver boxes, and along just like looting your enemy. And it's like you get all these parts, and like when you go to the fire camp, you can upgrade all these weapons. It's going to take a lot of parts to upgrade these weapons, along with like doing a lot of backtracking to make sure you get all the scraps that you need if you ever want to like max out like all the weapons, because that's one of the things in this games, you can fast travel to all these different places that you're not able to like unlock certain things before. And one of the good things about fast travel is that you can go back to all these areas now that you have like all these new tools and weapons and get some of the crates that you're not able to get earlier in the game. And that's how you can kind of like upgrade like all the weapons if you want to upgrade all the weapons, especially at the end of the game. If you want to upgrade all the weapons, you can fast travel back to all these different areas and get all the crates that you missed early on. But now let's talk about the skill tree, because this game does have a pretty simple skill tree compared to like the other two, of course, because that's something they improved like in the future in the other games. But let's just talk about them. You have 3 options when it comes to the skill tree. You have survivor, you have brawler, and you have hunter. Let's talk about each individual one and what exactly you can get on each of these skill trees. Now when it comes to survivor, you can get an HP bonus along with salvage bonus, and along of course like with looting. And also you get different things when it comes to your survival instincts, where you can see certain things in the area you're at. Either you can see like where collectibles are hidden, or you can like see where you can loot remove certain enemies, and also you can get stuff for the map, like showing hidden items or also like showing where the tombs are at. When it comes to the hunter section, this is mainly just to make your weapons better by either allowing you to carry like more ammo now, along with also having a lot of different options when it comes to close encounters. So when it comes to the brawler section, these skills are mainly for dodging and finishers, and throughout the game you're going to get XP where you can upgrade like all these different skills. Now I'm not going to even lie to you, sometimes it does feel like it takes a long ass time to get some of the skill points, because I swear I'll go back to the campfire and I would always just like have one skill at a time. I think there was rare for me to have more than one skill point when I was going to the campfires, because it low-key does feel like it does take a long ass time to get skill points. That way you can upgrade all these different skills, but once you upgrade a whole bunch of these different skills, it makes Laura kind of broken when it comes to the enemies, especially like when it comes to the dodges and the finisher. And then like even when it comes to survival instincts, the survival instincts comes really in handy, like especially if you're trying to get all the collectibles in the game. But hey, let's talk about the collectibles now, because there's a lot of different things when it comes to the collectibles, because there's also a lot of different challenges that are in this game. Because like when it comes to the challenges, it's usually like maybe like 5 out of something, maybe 3 out of something, or like 10 out of something. You have to find them in that certain area. As you find them, of course you're gonna get experience for finding them, especially like if you find all of them, you'll get some more experience, and that's one of the cool things about finding these. But at the same time, you kind of got to go out of your way to find some of these, where other ones are just like plainly right in your face. If you're just exploring a little bit, you're gonna find some of these different challenges. But one of the collectibles that you do find a lot throughout the game are the relics. And when it comes to the relics, like once you find a relic, you have Laura basically read it, because you get a whole bunch of text that are on the screen, and then you just hear Laura read it, and that's one of the cool things. One of the other things you can find are documents, and that's one of the way you can hear the thoughts of all these different people throughout the island. And it's like whoever that document belongs to, they're going to be the ones reading it. So like you can hear people's thoughts, either people that were on this island a long ass time ago, or some of your companions, or you have some of the enemies you might have been fighting. You hear what their thoughts are like as they're on this island. And that's one of the cool things I really do like about the documents, is that they actually read them instead of you having to read them. And I just thought that was really convenient that they actually read it to you. And also one of the other things that you can find are these GPS things, and I can't lie, I think there's only a few areas where I actually found all the GPS things, because I honestly did not feel like going out of my way to find all these different GPS things, especially because some areas have like 15 of them, but I'm like, dog, I am good. I'll find them if I see them though. Now one of the last things you can do in this game are challenge tombs, and there's 7 challenge tombs in this game. And when it comes to the tombs, they're not really that hard at all. There's only a few that where you might have to actually think about it, but for the most part they're all pretty easy to finish, and like once you finish it, you get a skill point for finishing it. To me, they're all pretty easy. There's only like a few where I actually had to think about what I had to do, but like for the most part they're all pretty easy tombs, and it's just an easy way to get like a free skill point. There are a few tombs that I will say that are pretty creative that you actually have to think about. One of the tombs I liked a lot was in this research facility, and like it was flooded in certain areas, but like when it came to the water, there was like electricity in the water, so you could not go in the water, so you had to like use your bow and arrow to like pull over this raft. And what you end up eventually having to doing is like putting this light on top of the raft, that way you can actually go into the water and then eventually like go up the stairs, that way you can complete the tomb. And that was one of the things I thought was really cool, and I actually did really enjoy that tomb a lot. Now I just want to talk about some of the other stuff that I noticed in this game. Now earlier I mentioned that Laura goes through it because she goes through it a lot. There's multiple times where she's hanging from the ceiling and she ends up like cutting herself down and she ends up busting her shit. But like early in the game, she ends up falling to the ground and she ends up falling on a rod, and now that bitch went through her leg, and like at the beginning of the game you see that she's very hurt. And like there's another time where she gets really hurt when it comes to like the enemy's base, and you see she has to go on that helicopter to kind of heal herself because she gets messed up heavily, especially that one when like she goes through like the whole water, and eventually like she falls into this ship, and eventually she lands inside of this broken airplane, and then eventually she falls out of the front of the airplane and she has to use a parachute. And you know, like after a while she cuts the parachute and then she smacks the tree and then she falls to the ground, and like, and you have her in that situation where she's really hurt, and like she's hurt so bad that you can't even like run off walls, and you have to sneak around the base. Even though like she's hurt, you still have to fight these enemies. That was a pretty crazy moment, I'm not gonna lie though. And also when it comes to the camera angles in this game, I really did enjoy a lot of the camera angles, especially like as you're climbing. There's some really cool camera angles, but at the same time there are some areas when you're climbing you can't move the camera, and it kind of sucks because I kind of hate it because you couldn't see shit. There is a lot of times Laura is falling in this game. She's always busting her shit, or you have like a whole bunch of falling and sliding, and just know that is a staple for this series, because like as we go to the other games you'll see that happens a lot in this series, and especially in the third game there's a certain section where that happens where it sucks, but we'll talk about that when we get to the third game. But yeah, there's a lot of falling in here, and there's a lot of quick time moments in this game a lot too. But I mean, you know, that was a staple for PS3 and Xbox 360 games. You know, that happened a lot where you'd have like quick time moments, and this one has a lot of quick time moments, especially like as you're going through the water and you have that certain type of thing you have to shoot with a shotgun. You have to do that a lot. And also like there's ones when you're going on the zip line and you have to plan those at the right time or you will fall and die. Now one of the things I kind of hate about the climbing is that sometimes you can bust your shit and die when it comes to the climbing, because like the button response sometimes it can be kind of wonky, because you'll be pressing the button to go over there, or you'll be looking in the direction to go over there and it will not have you go over there, and sometimes you'll bust your shit and fall, and that's one of the things that kind of sucks. But like it's not that bad. It only happens every once in a while, but it's not really that bad though. Now, one of the things I did like about this game is like when it comes to Laura and all her companions that are with her on the ship, you see all of them, they get captured besides like Roth. Roth and Laura are the only two that are actually doing shit on this island. And then also I think you have that one guy who's like kind of like backstabbing everybody, mainly because he wants to like learn everything about this island and all that. So you have that, and like he's giving up Sam. For the most part, all the other people, they really don't do shit on the island besides just getting captured, or when they do help you, you don't really see it like that. And like it's kind of crazy that they're pissed off at Laura when Laura's the only one that's really doing shit in here. And like it's kind of crazy that they weren't listening to her too, especially when it came to that one black woman that just wanted to get off the island. Like I understand she has a kid, but at the same time, does she not realize that Laura knows what she's talking about, dog? She's the only one on this island that's been going through shit, so she knows what exactly she's talking about when she said, she's like, yo, we cannot leave this island until I figure out what exactly is wrong on this island. I do find it interesting that there's no women enemies on this island, which is kind of fascinating, because it's like, dog, you're telling me no women ever got stranded on this island? It was just all men, which is kind of crazy that like the first time you have any women on the island is like when it comes to Laura and like all the other different women that are with her. They're the first women that get stranded on this island. I want to talk about the final level of this game, which is the big race to save Sam and stop her from being taken over by Himiko. During this mission, you are fighting the Oni as you sneak into their stronghold, along with fighting the men on the island. This can get very relentless at times because of how many waves of different enemies you have to fight. Plus, you have all the different climbing that you have to do to get all the way to the top. And when it comes to the waves of enemies, especially when it comes to the Oni, you have to fight so many of them, and you have to fight all the different versions of them, the people with the swords, the people with the bow and arrow, and you have to go through countless waves of them. And then like of course there's going to be a lot of different set pieces that do happen as you do that, especially like when you see them just randomly appear on top, and most of the time you could like throw grenades at them and take them out that way. But for the most part, the set pieces aren't that bad. You just have a constant wave of them, but like it kind of gets bad when you have like the men, because the men are the most annoying like on the whole island, like because they eat up so many bullets, where the Onis, they eat up bullets, but it's not as like bad as the men, because usually the men have a whole bunch of different armor. The Oni do too, but like it seems like to me they're usually easier to take out with a shotgun, where the men, they usually take so goddamn long to take out unless you shoot them in the head. The final boss isn't that hard of a fight, but he eats up a lot of different bullets. And also you have a whole bunch of quick time attacks that you have to do. Like after you knock him, you have to hurry up and go towards him and then hit a quick time attack, and you have to do that a few different times. And it's like each time you do that, it usually takes off part of his armor, that way you can shoot him easily, and especially like shoot him in the head, and the next thing you know, that gets you into like the quick time event. The other annoying thing that can happen with this boss fight is that you have random enemies that can spawn, and usually they're attacking you, and most of the time you just need to hurry up and use a shotgun and take them out. And also you can run out of bullets like really fast, especially some of your good guns can run out of ammo fast, because like when I got to this fight, I was low-key running out of ammo, and I was kind of just left like with a pistol, and like all my big ammo was low-key out, like some of my explosive arrows or like my grenades and all that, it was kind of like gone by the time I got to this boss fight because of like how many other enemies I had to fight. But also when it comes to the enemies that do spawn, after you kill them, they do drop ammo, so that's how you can like re-up your ammo. Now when it comes to the final part of this game, when it comes to the priest that kidnapped Sam, this is when you get the chance to actually use the dual-wielding pistols, because you know that's what Lara Croft is known for, her dual-wielding pistols. And this whole game you haven't been able to use dual-wielding pistols until the very end. But for the most part, even when you get the dual-wielding pistols, yeah, you can control them, but like it's more just like, to me, like a quick time attack type of thing, mainly because like you're just pointing at them and then you just shoot them both. But like it just sucks that we don't get to use these, because you know that's a staple for like all Tomb Raider games, is that Laura's able to use the dual-wielding pistols. But this is like one of the first games where you don't actually have the dual-wielding pistols. I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure this is the first game where you don't have them, and it kind of just sucks that we don't have that, especially because this game doesn't have New Game New Plus, and it's like this game needs that most definitely. And it's like, imagine if they added that in this game and they allowed you to use the dual-wielding pistols. That would have been fun. I feel like they should have gave us a chance to use dual-wielding pistols like after you complete the story and beat the game. I feel like that should have been an option, but sadly it was not, and this is going to be the last time we ever see it in the whole survival trilogy, because the other two games you do not get no dual-wielding pistols at all. And it just kind of sucks that they kind of took that away, because they kind of took it away for the bow and arrow. I love the bow and arrow in the survival trilogy, but I can't lie, we low-key should have still had dual-wielding pistols though. Going back to this game makes me appreciate how simple the things were, like the skill tree, the tombs, and climbing are compared to the other two games, because once you get to those two games, you know they add a lot more when it comes to those. But this game does a great job of showing a young Lara Croft that is very inexperienced as she goes on her first exposition, and just showing that by the time she's done with this game, she has all this new experience and she'll know what to do the next time she gets put in a situation that's like this. But if you played Tomb Raider 2013, let me know how you feel about this game. If you enjoyed the video, why not like? If you didn't, you could dislike, subscribe, really enjoyed. But yeah, I can't wait to talk about the other two games because I do love the survival trilogy a lot because I love all three games and they're all really fun to play. But before we talk about Rise of a Tomb Raider, we have to first take a trip to Spain to save a certain baby eagle.
I received special training via a secret organization working under the direct control of the president. I was to assume the responsibility of protecting the new president's family.